Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make this pretty little wavy dress. Now the next one I'm going to make it with this. This is King Cole Cherish yarn. It is beautiful and it is so soft. It's a baby double knitting. That's a weight 3 if you're in the USA. It's a weight 3 yarn. It's 100 grams in the ball. That is 273 yards, 250 meters. Tells you to use a 4mm crochet hook for this. Now I'm going to use a 4mm UK 4mm crochet hook. That's a number 7 or stroke 0 if you're in the USA. I think it's a number 7. Now what I'm going to do is, when I've made this one, it's quite straight because it is for a little baby. Now I'm going to add some extra stitches. I want this dress to be a little bit wider like this on the next one that I'm going to make. Now the back of this is the little square yoke that I've been doing some of my videos on. I keep telling you that this little square yoke, it made this little dress. It also made this little dress. That's the same square yoke. There is a video on the channel on this square yoke. You can change it into cardigans. I've got, if I can get it out of there, I've still not sewed the ends of these in. I keep showing this on my videos. But this is that square yoke again on this cardigan. And I've just went around the sleeves because it comes up to here. You can see the square there. And I've added sleeves in. So you can add sleeves in this little dress. You can just go around and around and add sleeves in if you want. But I'm not going to with this one. I'm just going to show you how to do this basic little dress. Now with the square, you can change the stitch to anything that you want on the bottom. You can change the stitch to any kind of stitch that you want just by using this square yoke, and you can get all those different types of garments out of it. So I'm going to show you how to do the wavy dress anyway. So for this dress size, I want it to be nice and light. Now the thing is with this square yoke, the best way to go from a knot to 3 months, 3 to 6 and 6 to 12 is to use a different crochet hook. If you want a small premature baby or a very small baby, start with a 3mm or a 3.5mm crochet hook. Now that'll give you a much smaller little dress. Now the 4.5 is a 4.5 in the UK, but in the USA it's a 7. It's the same number of stitches. So this one's going to work out to be for a 3 to 6 months old. That'll give you a bigger yoke and a bigger dress. It's the easiest way for beginners to make something bigger is to use a larger hook. So we're going to do a chain of 48. If you can't do a slip knot, just tie it onto your hook. Tie your yarn onto your hook. And we're going to do a chain of 48. Don't do it too tight. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 44, 45, 46, 47 and 48. 48 stitches in my chain. Now I'm going to go into the third stitch in the chain, 1, 2 and 3, and we're going to do a treble crochet. Now this is a UK treble crochet, and if you're in the USA this is a double crochet for you. So count that chain as your first stitch. We're going to do 7 stitches along. So count that chain as you stitch 1 and then stitch 2. So into the next stitch, that's number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6 and number 7. Now this is going to do the opening at the back of the dress. This here, this opening. So this is the opening. Now you're going to chain 1 because we're going to do a corner. We're going to do 4 corners in all. So you're going to chain 1. Now into that same stitch, the same stitch, do a treble crochet. And if you're in the USA, that's a double crochet. Now count that as stitch 1. We're going to do 11 along this time. So count that as stitch 1. That's stitch 1. And we're going to do 11. That's number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. Now you're going to make another corner. So we've done our first corner, so we're going to make another corner. So chain 1 and into the same stitch you'll do another treble crochet, or that's a double crochet if you're in the USA. So count that as stitch 1. We're going to go along for a count of 14. So that's stitch 1. So into the next stitch, it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. Oops. So we've got 14. We're going to chain 1 and into the same stitch. The same stitch we're going to do another corner. So count that as stitch 1, and we're going to do, we need 11 along, so that's stitch 1. That's 2, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. Now we're going to do the last corner, because this is what it's looking like at the moment. You've got that side, that one, that side and that. Now it will lay flat once we get more rows done. So we're going to do our last corner. So we're going to chain 1 and into the same stitch do a treble crochet. And if you're in the USA, these are double crochets. It's the same stitch, it's just we call it something different. So we're going to go down here, we should have 7. So that is stitch 1. Now if you've got an extra stitch on the end, just pull your little knot a bit tighter and it'll take that away. So that is stitch 1 in there. Stitch 2, 3, into the next one, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now if you think you've got one left, it'll be your slip knot where you first started. Just tighten that in. So that's me got my 7 stitches. So just make sure that you don't work into that knot. So we're going to count these. And you should have 50 stitches. Now that's your first row done, so you should have 50 stitches. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do another 5 rows. We're going to do 5 rows, and that one will be row 6. Now into each of the corners we're going to increase. We're going to increase into our corners. Now that is our little square there. That should come up to there. It'll straighten out once we get it done. Once we get these corners done. That is the square that goes around the neck. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2. 1, 2. Do them quite slack. You don't want to do a chain of 3. You'll end up with a big loop on the end. This keeps the end nice and neat. So do 2 quite slack, 2 chain. Turn your work. Now we're going to put 1 into each stitch until we get to the corner. Then we're going to put 2 treble crochet, 1 chain and 2 treble crochet into the corner. We're going to work along with 1 treble crochet, and into here you're going to put 1 treble crochet, 2 treble crochet, 1 chain and 2 treble crochet. Work along. We'll do a corner. That's 2, a chain and 2. Work along into the corner, 2, a chain and 2. And if you're in the USA, these are double crochets for you. So into the next stitch. I'll do this round with you, and then you can do your 6 rounds and come back and I'll show you what to do next. So this is my second round. Now 1 into there. Now when you get to the corner, put 2 in the corner. That's 1 and 2. Chain 1 and put another 2 in that same corner into the same space. 1 and 2. Now 1 into the next stitch and work along to the next corner. You can put markers in if you're a beginner. You can put markers in your corners. Just put a little piece of bright coloured thread in the corner to mark it. So work your way along to the next corner. So I'm at the next corner, so it's 2 stitches, 1 chain and 2 stitches into the corner. That's 2, chain 1 and another 2 into the same corner. 1 and 2. And then work your way along to the next corner. You'll put 2 stitches, 1 chain and 2 stitches in the corner. Work along to this corner. 2 stitches, 1 chain, 2 stitches. Work along to the end. Make sure you get your little chain on the end. Do a stitch into the top of that chain. Chain 2 and turn. And you'll do 6 rounds all together like that. So we've got 1 round and 2 rounds. So I'll come back and show you what to do next once we've got 6 done. So once you're on the 6th row, you should have about 100 stitches all around this outer edge. Now the 7th row that we're going to do, we're not going to do any increasing. We're going to go into the corners just with one stitch, one chain and one stitch. And that's a UK treble crochet if you're in the UK, and it's a double crochet if you're in the USA. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2, 1, 2 and turn. I'm going to put 1 into every stitch, and when I get to the corner I'm only going to put 1 treble crochet, 1 chain and 1 treble crochet in this, all the corners, and work this last round. So when you're at the end, I'm going to put 1 into this stitch here. I'm only going to put 1 into the corner, 1, chain 1 and 1 more into the corner, and that's going to give me another corner, and then work my way along to the other corner. We'll do 1 treble crochet, 1 chain and 1 treble crochet into the corner, 1 into each stitch. We'll do the corner again, 1 along and 1 along to here, and that'll be the square yoke finished. So once I've got that done, I'll come back and show you how to fold it and then how to pick stitches up for the dress part. So I've done my square. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to make the armholes. These 2 corners, when they're joined together, makes an armhole here and the same here. Now we're going to work the dress around this section. We'll make it in the round, we'll go around here and along, join here and along, and we'll join at that corner too. Now the pattern is 14 stitches per pattern. I need 140 for my pattern stitches. I want, this one's quite slim, I want a wider dress. Now what you're going to do is you have to divide it by 14. Any amount of stitches you add in, you need an even number, you need 14 sets of 14. 14 makes your cluster here, this part here and your cluster here. Now we will be working upside down like this, so 14 stitches makes 1 cluster, this section. That is what your 14 stitches makes, that section. Now for this one I want it a little bit wider. I want to put at least 10, so that's 140 stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to join it. I'm going to do a UK double crochet, and if you're in the USA, these are single crochets for you. We're going to work along here. I'll do a chain 1 and turn. Now I'm going to work along the first part of the back, then the stitch before the corner, I'm going to join this stitch to the one that's after the corner on this side. I'm going to join that stitch to that stitch. I'm not going to join it at the corner, that's going to give me too many stitches. I'm going to join it on this last stitch and this first stitch here and work my way around. So into the very first stitch you're going to do a UK double crochet, and that's a single crochet if you're in the USA. So just go right through, pull your yarn through, you've got 2 loops, yarn over and pull through into the next one, pull through. We're going to do that all the way along the line. We're not going to do our increase on this round, we'll do the increase on the next round. This is just to join the parts together. So I'm going through 2 loops of my stitch. So I'm on my last stitch before my corner. I'm going to go into that stitch. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this over. So that's the way we want it to go. So the first stitch after your corner, this stitch here, I'm just going to feed my yarn through there. Get my yarn and pull through those 2 stitches just to join this part together. Yarn over and do my stitch. Now I'm going to work my way along here. Now what that's done is it's joined these 2 parts into a sleeve. You've got your sleeve hole here. You can put sleeves on this dress if you like, you don't have to. You just go around and around until it's long enough for your sleeve. So into the next stitch we're going to do our 1 double crochet. That's in the UK. If you're in the USA it's a single crochet, 1 all the way along, and don't do it too tight. You don't want to pull it in. So I'm at the last stitch along this front end of the dress. So I'm going to go into the last stitch. I'm going to catch this side, so we're going to make a sleeve opening on this side. Don't make sure it's not twisted. So don't go in from this side. Don't twist it round from this side. Go from the inside and go, there's your corner, and just go through that first stitch. Get your yarn and pull it through those 2 stitches. Yarn over and do your single crochet, and now work your way along to this end. Now I'm going to join the back of this dress as well. I want to work in the round with this, so I'm going to join the back. I've got enough space for the baby's head to get through. I'll show you that in a minute. So 1 UK double crochet, that's 1 US single crochet into each stitch. I've got a little knot there, oh dear. It'll be on the inside. So I've got my chain of 2, remember, and do that chain of 2. Now I've got it on my hook. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to make sure I've got this laying flat, that it's a nice little circle all the way around, it's not twisted, it's not bent. That's my tail end from the beginning. And I'm going to catch the very first stitch here. Catch this first stitch, pull through and pull through that stitch and finish it off. So I've counted, joined it all up, and I've counted my stitches, and I've got 70. Now I need 140. So 70 and 70 is 140. I need to double up every stitch. I need to double every stitch. So I'm going to chain 2. I've turned it so I've got the back here, and I'm going to turn it so it's facing me. I'll put my yarn around that other side. So I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2, don't do them too tight. Now into that same stitch down there you're going to add another treble crochet. We're going to put 2 into each stitch, and that should give me 140 stitches, which is easily divided by 14, which is the pattern count. The stitch count on the pattern is 14, and that'll give me 10 repetitions of the pattern. So 2 stitches into each one on the body. And that knot will disappear in there. So I've got my increases done, and I've counted my stitches, and I've got 140 stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch to the first one that's here. Just slip stitch into that first stitch. I need to make sure I catch both those pieces of yarn. Okie doke. So this is what we have. This is our increase, and this is what we're going to do our pattern around, and it's going to make a nice little bell skirt part to this dress. Now, because it's like this, it pushes your sleeves in that way, but once it's all done and it's on the baby, it will be really pretty. So what we're going to do now, we're going to stay here in this first stitch. What we're going to do is we're going to chain 3. Now into this first stitch we need to do a fan of 4. Now that chain is your first stitch of that fan, of that cluster. So into that same stitch you're going to put another 3 UK treble crochets. If you're in the USA, these are double crochets for you. We need 4 altogether, so that chain counts as 1, and that's 2. Now into that same stitch, that's 3, and 1 more is 4. Make sure it goes into that stitch. Now into the very next stitch, you're going to put 1 treble crochet. Into the very next stitch, put 1. Now we're going to count that as number 1 stitch. We need to go along here and do 7, but we're going to skip a stitch in between. So count that as number 1. You're not going to do any chains, no chains. These stitches here and the next fan that we build will make up for the skipped stitches, and it'll keep your stitch count the same. So count that as number 1. So you're going to skip the next stitch, skip the next stitch, and double crochet into the next one. Or treble crochet if you're in the US, if you're in the UK, it's the same stitch. A double crochet or a treble crochet, it's the same stitch. So you'll skip 1. Now these are small stitches, so make sure that when you get around to the other side, if you've not got enough stitches, then go back and check that you haven't skipped 2. Or you have actually skipped a proper stitch. So skip the next stitch and put 1 into the next stitch. So we have that 1, 2 and 3. Skip a stitch and then do your treble crochet. That's 4. Skip 1. Make sure you're only skipping 1. That's 5. Skip 1. Work the next one. That's 6. Skip 1. Make sure you're only skipping 1. These ones are small. And that's 7. Now into the next stitch you're going to do that fan. You're going to do that cluster there. So you're going to put 4 into the next stitch. Don't skip any stitches now. So put 4. 1 into the same stitch. 2. 3 and 4. Now at the end of the video I will put a link, because I have a blanket made with this stitch. I've got a blanket made with this stitch, and I'll leave a link at the end of the video. So that is your pattern count. You've got a fan of 4. You do 1 treble crochet, skip 1, 1 treble crochet, skip 1. You do that till you have 7 in between, and then you'll do, once you've done your number 7, into the very next stitch you'll do your fan of 4, and that is the pattern repeat. That section is the pattern repeat. Now the next one that we put into the next stitch, we're going to do another fan. This is what gives it that peak effect like this. It's those two fans together, the two fans together, and each of these stitches that make it go up, and it's the skipping stitches that makes it go down. Then you've got the fans, and then it goes under with your skip stitch. We've got another row to go in between, and I'll show you that in a few minutes. So into the next stitch you're going to build, well, I've got my fan half built. Let's have a look. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's my stitch in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So into the next stitch you're going to build your fan. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is the start of the next section of the pattern, and as you can see it's made that round. We're going to do that all the way around. So into the next stitch it's only 1 treble crochet. So that's going to count as stitch 1. Skip a stitch, and do your next one. That's 2. Skip a stitch, do your next one. That's 3. Skip a stitch, do the next one. That's 4. Just make sure you're only skipping 1 stitch, because these are small. These were only your small double crochets, or your single crochets if you're in the USA. So make sure you're only skipping 1. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Skip 1 and do 1. That's, oops, that's 5. Skip 1 and do 1. Now no chains in between these. Do not chain in between. So skip that one and skip 1. How many have we got? I'm getting lost now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Skip 1 and do 1. That's 7. Now into the very next stitch you're going to do your cluster of 4, and then another cluster of 4 into the next stitch. So into the very next stitch put 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that's that little pattern repeat done. Now it'll come together when we do the next row, don't worry about it. So into the next one you'd start with a fan, then you'll do your 7 treble crochets with your skip stitch in between, and then a fan, then another fan, 7 stitches, then a fan, another fan, do your 7 and a fan all the way around. So that's, just make sure that when you look at it you've got a stitch here, that's your number 7 stitch there, and then you've got your fan. So a fan into the next stitch, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and now we'll start our 7 treble crochets. So 1 into the next stitch, so that's stitch 1. Skip a stitch and do a stitch, that's 2. Skip 1 and do another one, that's 3. Skip 1, that's 4. Skip a stitch, that's 5. Skip 1, that's 6. Skip 1 and 1 into there is 7. So into the very next stitch we'll do the fan to finish that set of 14 off. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and we'll continue doing that all the way around the body. So I've gone all the way around the body of my dress, and as long as you've done your little stitch count correct, then you shouldn't have any extra stitches or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to slip stitch into the top of this chain here. So into the top of this chain I'm going to slip stitch here. It's a little bit on the small side. I need to catch 2 strands of yarn so I don't end up with a loop. So that together. And this is what we have. This is our little dress, and this is what we're going to do the pattern. So this pattern has 2 rows. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create this ridge, and we're going to do it with a UK double crochet. And if you're in the USA, that's a single crochet for you. So we have our pattern row, this one, and then we've got 1 row of double crochet back post stitches, and that pushes the top of this row forward like this, so you can see it as a raised ridge. Now that's the 2 rows of the pattern. You'll keep repeating those 2 rows until the dress is as long as you want it. You can have a long dress, you can have a short one, you can have one that's in between. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to chain 1. Now right around that little chain that's there, that little chain, we're going to go, just work your way behind that little chain that we started this pattern with, and push your hook through the other space. Pull your yarn through, and you should have 2 loops on your hook, and pull through. Now the first one's always just a little bit strange. So we've gone through that one. We're going to go around this one. We're going in the gap, around the front of the stitch, and out the gap on the other side. So no yarn over, just go in through the gap and out through the other gap. And the post of that stitch is on the back of your hook, and that's why it's called a back post stitch. So yarn over and just pull it through. Yarn over and through. Around the next one, don't miss any. Make sure you get all of the ones on these fans. So in the space, through the other side of the space, pull your yarn through, 2 loops, yarn over and pull through. So in the space, around the stitch, pull your yarn through, you've got 2 loops, yarn over and through those 2 loops. So all these stitches in the fan replaces the stitches that we skipped on the pattern part. So these are the 2 rows you'll keep repeating. So just remember the second row is a double crochet, or a single if you're in the USA. So you're doing, in the UK you're doing a treble crochet row for the pattern, and then a double crochet row. So in around the next one, out through the space, and do your back post stitch, because this post of a stitch is on the back of your hook and your work. 1 around every single stitch. When you get to the fans, make sure you catch, because they're all together, make sure you split them apart and go around each one, all the way around your dress. 1 around the next one. Make sure you go through the back. Don't catch 2 together. Make sure you're just going in the space and around the stitch and out the space on the other side. And around. Just pull it apart so you can see where your space is. And like I said already, I'll leave a link at the end that you can click on, and you can see the blanket that I did in this stitch, in this wavy stitch. one around each stitch and around, and that's what you get this little ridge here, and it pushes your stitches forward here. But when we do the next one, it'll really accentuate that wave like this, and it's that little double crochet row that pushes the top of the row below forward. So I'm going to go all the way around my dress doing this back post stitch, and then I'll come back and show you once again how to do that fan row. Okay? So I've got all the way around with my double crochets, and that's a single crochet if you're in the USA. I'm going to slip stitch to my very first one. Just make sure it's the very first one, and we're going to slip stitch to there. Now this becomes my first stitch where we've slip stitched right here. So I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to repeat this fan row. So the pattern repeat is the fan row and that back double crochet row. So right into that same stitch where that chain of 3 is, where we slip stitched into, we're going to put 3 more treble crochets. We're going to build our fan, then we'll do our 7 treble crochets with your spaces, and then we'll do a fan, and your 7 treble crochets. And that is going to pull this ridge really forward. So into this same stitch here, we're going to put another 3 stitches. Now that chain counts as your first one. We need 4. That's the first one, that's the second one, 2, that's 3 and 4. So that's the chain of 3 and 3 more makes 4. Now into the very next stitch we're going to do 1 treble crochet. Now once we get all around the last fan, I'll join with that one and make that peak on this side. So we've done our 1 stitch in the next stitch, so that's a number 1. So again, skip a stitch. You don't go into these stitches, make sure you turn it a little bit so you can see the stitches here at the back that you're going to work. So skip a stitch. It's a lot easier now because the stitches are slightly bigger. Skip 1 and then do your next stitch. So we've got 1, 2 and 3. Skip a stitch, 1 into the next one, that's 4. Skip 1, 1 into the next one, that's 5. Skip 1, 1 into the next one is 6. Skip 1, 1 into the next one is 7. And that takes us to the top, near the top of this fan set that's here. So into the next stitch you're going to build a fan. So that's 1, 2, into the same stitch, 3 and 4. And that's that little section finished. So we start the next one with a fan. So right into the next stitch, do 1, 2, 3 and 4. Then 1 treble crochet into the next stitch, 1 into the next stitch, and that counts as stitch 1. Skip 1, skip 1 and work 1, that's 2. Skip 1 and work 1, that's 3. Skip 1 and work, that's 4. Skip 1, work 1, that's 5. Skip 1, work 1, that's 6. Skip 1 and work 1, and that's 7. And that brings us to the top of this fan set, and we're going to do the same again. A fan into the next stitch and a fan into the next stitch. 1 treble crochet into the next, then start counting for your 7. That one will be number 1, then do 7, and the top of this one you'll have 2 fans, and then your 7, just the same as you have here. And we're going to do that all the way around. Now your fans should sit on top of each other like this. They should sit like this. If you can see with this one, you've got your 2 fans above it, and then above it, and above it, and above it. If they go offset, then you've not done your stitch count proper. You just make sure that after you've done your second fan, that you do 1 treble crochet into the next stitch, skip 1, and that one counts as 2, skip 1, 3, skip 1, 4, skip 1, 5, skip 1, 6, skip 1, 7, and then into the next 2 stitches you'll do your 2 fans, and then into the very next stitch 1 treble crochet, skip 1, treble crochet, that's your second one, skip, third one, skip, 4, skip, 5, skip, 6, skip, and then 7, and your 2 fans again. And your next round is that back post round with your UK double crochets. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to do this round, and I'm going to do my back post. So just rewind the video to when we've done that back post, and you'll do that behind every row that you do with the fans in it. Then you'll do a fan row, a back post row, a fan row, a back post row, and do it as wide, as long as you want it to be. Now in this one, each pattern is 2, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and that last one's 10. I've got 10 rows of pattern, and it made this. This is slightly slimmer though. This has only got 8 sets of 14. It's got, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's got 7 sets of the 14 on that one. This one's got 10. It's got more. I wanted a wider one. So I'm going to do at least another 8 repetitions of my pattern. So that'll be my fan row and my back post row, then a fan row and a back post row, all the way down. And then I'll show you how to finish up neatly around here. So I'll get that done, and I'll come back and show you what my little finished part of the skirt looks like. So this is what I've done with my little dress. I've got all my rows done. I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of the 2 parts of that pattern. That is the fan row and that double crochet row. But I finished it on a fan row. I'll turn it round that way. I finished it on the fan row because I think it's really pretty getting left like that. You don't need to. This one here has been finished on the double crochet row, and that's a single crochet row if you're in the USA. So that's the way I finished it with the ridge on, but I do like it finished with that fan row as well. So that's what I've done with that one, and this is so pretty. Look at that, it is so pretty, and that pattern's beautiful. It's quite a thick pattern as well. I need to sew that in. So I'm going to show you how to finish. You don't really need to put anything around the sleeves here. So I've got it inside out. Remember, it's inside out, and that's what the inside looks like. There's sort of no ridge, it's quite flat. And I will leave the link at the end of the video. I'll leave a little link in a square that you can click on to do the blanket for this. So into the bottom down here, I'm just going to pick up a stitch. and I'm going to get my yarn. I'll leave enough to sew in the end, and I'll just pull that through. I don't want to leave too much of a tail, but enough to sew in, enough to sew the tail end in. So I'm going to chain one just to begin with, just to tighten that tail in. Now along here in these treble crochet stitches, in the bigger part of the stitches, we're going to do 1/2 treble crochet and 1 slip stitch, and then move along to the next one. I'm going to adjust my camera down so you can see. So yarn over and into the first space, you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. Now into that same space, do a slip stitch. So pull your yarn through and then just slip it through that stitch. So into the next space, yarn over, into the next space, pull through 3 loops, yarn over, pull through them all, and into the same space, just pull your yarn through and do a slip stitch. And that's going to put that little bobble on the right side of your little dress. So yarn over into the next space, in the space where that chain is, pull through 3 and in again and slip stitch. Yarn over into the next space, do it quite loose, don't do your slip stitch too tight, just work your way up into those larger spaces. So that's your row there, and we're using the end space of the row. We're not going into the joint in here. So what do I need? I've done my slip stitch. So into this space I need to do my half treble and then my slip stitch. Into the next one, half treble and then a slip stitch. And into this top one, I'm going to put 1 half treble and a slip stitch, and then another half treble and a slip stitch, just to keep my corner nice and square. So yarn over and in here, half treble, slip stitch, and we'll do another one, and it's going to help us come round that corner, and then a slip stitch. And this is what it looks like. You've got this nice neat pattern on the proper side of your dress. Now remember, I turned the dress inside out. So what we're going to do along here to keep the square, we're going to go into the spaces. So it'll be a half treble crochet and then a slip stitch, a half treble crochet and a slip stitch. When we get to here, we're going to skip this stitch out, and that'll keep that V-shaped part of the neck. It'll keep that in square like that. It'll keep it all nice and neat. So we're going to do our half treble crochet into the next stitch, because we're on stitches here. 1 slip stitch into the next one. So into the next one, your half treble, into the next space, slip stitch, because they're much closer. So into the next one, it's a half treble. Now skip that space, skip that corner space, and go into the next one for your slip stitch, and work your way around like that, and then a slip stitch, and then a half treble, and we'll get around to this one, and it's going to be the same again, because it's the V inverted corner. We'll skip that middle section there out. So that's our half treble, slip stitch, work my way along, stitch for stitch along the top. Keep your slip stitches slack. Now a half treble into that one, Now we're at the other section of the neck. If I get this one, I'll show you. I haven't done this one. So you've got to do this corner slightly different from this corner here. This is a sticking out corner on the back. So you've got these two corners that stick out, but you've got these ones that go in, and we want to keep that shape. So it's this space here that you skip out. You work that one, skip that corner space, and then work into the next one, and that'll keep your square with that proper angle. I'll put that back over there. So I'm going to skip that space there because that's that corner, and slip stitch into this one. Don't do it too tight, and then work along the rest of this collar. This is a really quick, easy way to neaten any edge on your crochet. It's even a good way to neaten up the edges on a blanket, as long as you don't do that slip stitch too tight. So I've done my double crochet, so in here it's going to be a slip stitch this time. So we're going to skip that because it's that sort of L-shaped corner. Skip that corner, and I'm going to do my half treble into that side. There's more stitches there, that's why it's slightly changed at that corner. So slip stitch, half treble, slip stitch. We're going in to each of the spaces, and keep it slight, don't do it too tight. Slip stitch. So skip that V part of that corner, just skip it. So you're skipping that space there, that stitch, and go into the next one. And I'll show you this when we've just about finished. So at this end I've got this. Now I'm at the corner here, I'm in between my last stitches, so I'm going to do the same. I need to do a slip stitch for that part. So in here we're going to do a half treble into the same stitch, a slip stitch, oops, slip stitch, another half treble just to get us around that corner, and a slip stitch, and then work your way down these rows again. So it's a half treble crochet and a slip stitch into each of these longer stitches. You can see your rows there, so you're doing one for each row. So a half treble, slip stitch into the next one, slip stitch, because we're going down the rows. It's not stitches, it's rows that we're going down. Just around those treble crochets on the end, and that will bring you down to where we started, and a slip stitch, and get that last one down there, and a slip stitch. Now right into the very bottom down here, I'm just going to do a double crochet. Pull that up, cut my yarn, give myself enough to sew in my tail, and pull that through. And you can see what's happened when I've skipped that space that's in there. It's kept it square. So we're going to turn this back in the right way around, and we should have all those little baubles on the outside. Look at that. We've got all those little half treble crochets on this side, and that's what the back looks like. So all I'm going to do is pop a button on. I'm just going to pop a button. You can use a snip. I'm going to use the space that's right beside here just to fasten on the button. It's not got a big gap here. You don't need more than one. You can put a little hook on if you want. It's up to you, but this is just a basic little dress made with that square yoke. So all I'm doing with these videos is showing you the versatility of this square yoke and all the things that you can do. So for this skirt part, you can do any stitch you want, as long as you get your stitch count and you can divide it by the amount of stitches that go around here. Now remember, this pattern needed 14 stitches. The stitch count is 14. I had 70 stitches by the time I joined this for the sleeves, and then I put 2 into every stitch to bring it up to 141, because 140, because you can divide that by 14 and you get 10. You get 10, and I got 10 sections all around of my pattern. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. I've got 10, but it made it a little bit wider than that little pink one. I'll bring the little pink one. I've still got the edge to do on that one, and I wasn't all that great at connecting the colourway here, so the joint's a bit more prominent than it is in this one. But look at that, it just waves right in. So pretty. It is so pretty, and this one is so lush and thick and soft. It's not very thick, but it is thicker than this ice yarn. It's thicker than this ice yarn. That is so... You can even see the difference in that yarn. And it is double knitting. Both of them are double knitting. It's just a different way that this one's done. This Cherish. I thought it was Beaches, but it's Cherish. It's beautiful. I need to get some more. Now, I think that might be enough to do a little bonnet. I don't think it'll be enough to do a little bonnet and a little pair of booties. Now, I've never done booties either. So, maybe if you want me to try a little set of booties. Every time I did that, I always seemed to get 2 left feet. I could never get one to look to the right and one look for the left foot. Maybe it doesn't really matter. Maybe you can just have them, just pop them on. It doesn't matter which way it goes on. But I'll maybe give that another try as well. But I think for this I might make a little, at least a little, I might make a little pair of booties with it. It might even be enough to do a little simple plain hat and a little pair of booties. I could use a smaller hook and just use that UK treble crochet and do a simple little, I'll see what I can get done with it. But that is how you do this. If you want to do the sleeves with that little pattern, just turn it back inside out. Just turn it back inside out and just go around here, go into each space with your half treble and then a slip stitch, half treble, slip stitch, and that should put the little bump of the half treble on the right side. If you actually want long sleeves, all you need to do is just to go around and around and around until it's as long as you want. But I think it's pretty like that. And then you can put a nice little cardigan on as well. And we have made a cardigan. There is a video, I'll put, where's my cardigan that I've done? Here's the little cardigan that we've done with the same square. And the video for that is on my channel. So what I'll do is, at the end of the video, in a square here, I'll put a link to the cardigan. And in a square on this side, I'll put a link to the blanket that matches this pattern. So with this, it's the same square yoke, and I've showed you on this video how to add sleeves. So if you want to add sleeves, look at this. This is the same square yoke, and there it is there. And that's what it'll be like with sleeves. So pretty. But thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. Now, it's completely free to subscribe to the channel. But if you want to donate anything or buy me a cup of coffee just to help with the running costs of the channel, I'll leave a link underneath the video for my coffee page. I've got a coffee page, and you can donate the amount of a cup of coffee, and it just helps to run the channel. It keeps it running. It costs quite a bit of electricity to have all my computers on, and my videos and my cameras and my microphone as well. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. So happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.